Hello. Today on DIY with Chris. A couple weekends ago, we went and picked up this one shelf bookshelf right here at a thrift store for just really cheap. We removed this shelf on it, so this is what it looks like. It had a thick coat of white paint on it along with laminate, and then it's a MDF board underneath. So we removed that middle shelf. We do not plan on reusing it for this particular project. After that, we cut out a new backing using this board here. So we cut out a piece because the other stuff that was on there was really bad at that point, very warped, and it wasn't very stable. After we had done that, we sanded down our entire project. So we removed all of the pre-existing white paint as well as the laminate that was on there, and then we applied this new base coat of paint. So on the sides, on the top and some of the sides, we have this just base coat white, and then on the interior we're keeping it blue, and on the sides we're going to do a circus theme, red and white stripes with a chalkboard right in the middle. We're going to be using chalkboard paint for this. So the next step that we're going to take right now is going to be to drill the holes for our bungees. This is how we're going to contain our stuffed animals and other toy storage items. So we're going to space it out. Our initial spacing is going to be 5 inches, another 5 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches, and 5 and 5, and that's going to give us even spacing on all this. We have 5 bungees here that we're going to be using. We had just picked up a bungee kit from Lowe's. It had 24 bungees in it, and it actually came with 6 of these, but we're only going to use 5 of them. So we're going to each of these bungees comes with, it's usually doubled over and then tied on the ends. So we untied it, and we're going to drill the hole, slide the bungee through, and the ball is going to stay on top. And then we're going to drill another hole in the bottom, run the bungee all the way down, and tie off that knot and probably staple it in place so that it stays there. So that's going to be our stuffed animal containment system. Okay, so we just went over this entire project with 60 grit sandpaper, and we're doing that to get down some of the paint that was already on there, as well as to get rid of some of the excess wood that had been broken up while we were drilling the holes for this. After we went over it with 60 grit, we also went back over it with the 220 grit to make it nice and smooth. So the next step we're going to do is just measure off our bungees, and this is going to be our stuffed animal containment system. We pull it through the first hole up top, and then we're going to find the other hole down bottom, pull loose. You might need some pliers for this portion, as we had drilled our holes just small enough to where the actual cord would go through and no larger. So you can use some pliers to help pull it through. So at this point, we're just making sure that our bungee is actually long enough and that we do have enough excess to tie another knot. So we're going to tie a knot, and then we're also going to staple it down to make sure it stays in place. Right now we're just measuring it for size though. At this point we can also see how tight we actually want it, and then we can put the mark on the bungee at that point, and that's going to let us know that whenever we pull it through, we can stop at that mark, and then we can tie that knot on the mark so we know exactly how tight we're going to have it. So After we've measured that, now we're going to prep the sides for our chalkboard paint and the rest of it. So the chalkboard paint, the application for that is going to be, it calls for an ultra smooth surface, so that's why we went over it with that 220 grit on the sides. And as you can see, that's what our actual chalkboard paint spot is going to look like. It's nice and rectangular on there, and then for those small children like ours right now, being really young, he's going to be able to reach the whole thing. And then later when they're a little bit bigger, they can still, you know, get down on their hands and knees and still use that chalkboard. Next step is applying the primer. Alright, so the next step we're going to do for this project is we're going to do our second coat for the chalkboard paint. So before we do that, we need to sand it down. We're just using the 220 grit sandpaper just to give it a smooth finish, but make it resistant enough to where when we apply that second coat of paint, it's going to stick. Now we're going to apply our second coat and just let it cure. The last step we have for this part of our project is to apply our bungees in front. This is going to be our animal containment system. So what we do is, again, we had bought the bungees from Lowe's. These just came in a pack. And so we have a knot that's up top with the ball, and we're going to leave the ball up top. We just drilled the holes, we fed it through right here, and that's going to keep it in place on top. We're going to come down here and then feed this through our bottom hole. So these are the same measurements both on the top and the bottom. And we have 5 bungees. So we just pull it taut here, feed it all the way through, and then I'm going to pull it and tie a knot in it down here. Now after we do this and have all the knots tied in it, what I'm going to do to make sure that it actually stays there just in case a knot comes loose or whatnot is I'm also going to hot glue the base here, and then we're going to take our staple gun and we're going to staple the bungee down just in case to make sure it stays in place. And that's going to be it. We'll show you a video snippet of it when it's done. Alright, so this is our final product here. We're already giving it a test run with Little Ender here. And so he's pulling out some of the animals. We just have the regular bungee containment center. We have the regular bungee containment system here. And so we can just open it right up, feed all the animals in there, and then this will just keep them right inside for them. Something that we're looking at doing in the future, hopefully, is also making the top a book rack, or adding some other things like we're going to put the top of the circus tent up there, paint the stripes, and then we can add little signs up top as well. But then he can also, we do have the chalkboard paint on either side, as you can see here, so we can just put it up against the wall, and no matter which way it faces, he can still draw on it as he likes to. So it should be able to grow with him as he gets a little bit older. And then if we put the book rack up there, then that'll be something that he can have fun with in the future as well. So if you have any questions, please let us know. If you enjoyed it, please like it, share it, and subscribe to our page. Thanks. DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself. DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.